Hello everyone. Thank you all the attendees for joining us today. I hope all the attendees had a great time in networking with their peers in our exhibition tables. If you have not visited, no worries. The platform will be open till 5:30 today, so you can do the networking at that time. So, a very good afternoon to all of you. I am Priyanshi, welcoming you all on behalf of Solar Quarter and Hershey Group to our webinar on solar roofs North India. So, before starting today's proceeding, I take the opportunity to thank and welcome our partner for this event, Gold Partner Longi. Now, without any further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Rohan Shelar from Longi to give his presentation. Over to you, Rohan sir.
Hello and very good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Rohan Shelar. I'm taking care of Longi channel business for India and Sri Lanka. Hope my screen is visible to everyone and I'm clearly audible to everyone.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely, sir.
Yeah, so I'll begin with my presentation. As you can see, there are some bold letters written over here. So, what should be the selection criteria for any particular module when you go for buying a module, and why you should buy Longi will be basically the entire summation of my this presentation. So, generally, we derive the buying for process for the module based on these three criteria, that is capacity, quality, and bankability. This should be the criteria whenever you choose a particular module for your project, because module is something which is going to cost more than 50 to 60% of the entire project cost. So it becomes very important parameter to choose it very wisely and carefully. So today I'll tell you about how you can go forward with Longi for your next projects. So this is Longi at a glance. As you can see, this building is our headquartered office in Shanghai, and we had a operating income of around 8.41 billion in the year 2020, out of which Longi has been kept a practice of spending at least 5 to 7% of our revenue on the R&D. We are having more than 60,000 people working across the globe with the Longi, and our presence is in more than 85 countries. Other than this, like the most good part, what I can tell you about Longi is we are falling under the global 2000 companies, which is a survey conducted by the Forbes Global 2000, and also the 50 smartest companies in the China. So this has been the journey of Longi. Basically, we started in the year 2000. So we can say yes, we have seen almost like the entire time frame of the solar, how it got evolved and increased. And in 2005, we come off majorly our focus was into the mono modules and the mono technology. So in 2000 year when we started, the market share for mono was uh, maybe similar or less than 5%, but we saw an opportunity that this is something which can be a future and which can give a good outcome to the projects, and we started working into the mono segment. In 2014, Longi established its module manufacturing capacity. Till then, we were only into the wafer and the ingot supplies. And then in 2019, majority of the standards which have been set by the Longi, the M6 wafer standard came into the picture. And 2021 was one of the milestone for us. We have established our hydrogen business unit as well. So, within this 21 years, what standards Longi has set for the market and how the share of the mono increased gradually year on year, you can see over here. In 2015, there was an era of a monocrystalline thing. The ingot pooling and everything started during those days for mono, and the discussions for the acceptance of mono started in the industry. And then market share was around 18%. Then we introduced or give to the market thing that is perk technology, and it was a very big success by then. Until now, we see PERC is something which is dominating the market and the mostly widely accepted product in the market. 2017 was no different. We come up with again some advantage and some R&D where we introduced the bifacial PERC to the market. And 2018 it was a half cut thing. Before that the wholesale was used into the module. With the help of this half cut thing we have been able to reduce the current drastically running inside the module, which has helped us using the module for longer run and reduce the hotspot and likewise things. And 2020 we are kind of standardizing the wafer, because many a time we are listening to the market that the product of 500, 600, 800 watt peak is coming into the market, and making a product of even 1 kilowatt is no problem for Longi because we are one of the largest wafer manufacturer. But the thing is we are corely focusing on supplying or providing something which is innovative and having coming with the value added thing. So working on the higher efficiency model is what we think upon, and supplying M10 wafers with the 182 mm by 182 mm is something we want to like standardize in the market, and there are a lot of big players who are coming along with the Longi to do that. So these are the people. How Longi has been performing so well into the industry is all because of this standard and strong R&D practices what we have followed. More than 5 to 7% of our revenue is going into the R&D, and all the list of these major universities we have been working closely with them and having more than thousands of the patent on the name of Longi. Now we'll move forward to the part which I initially discussed, that is capacity. As you can see these two big bold numbers, 85 gigawatt is the wafer manufacturing capacity of Longi, and it was by the end of 2020. And out of that we were able to supply more than 58 gigawatt of the wafer across the globe. And this is the part which you will definitely like, that is the capacity of the module manufacturing. Longi is having the module manufacturing capacity of 50 gigawatt, and we became the first ever company across the globe to supply more than 20 gigawatt of the modules in a single year, calendar year. That was the best part what Longi did. And I'm really happy to tell that out of this 24, last year Longi is supplied more than 1.5 gigawatt in India. And again I would be really happy to tell that this year already from Jan to till this moment we have been able to surpass that mark, and our supplies in India has crossed around 3.5 gigawatt. That's the highest by any company ever in India. So this has been the graph of how we have evolved ourselves in terms of the wafer and cell like module manufacturing our capacities. And if you can see, when we call ourselves as world's largest PV module manufacturer, when you see the difference between 1, 2, 3, or any number, or 1 to 10 number, the number difference between 1 and 2 is almost 50%. So that's a huge gap between Longi and any other manufacturer currently. Now how Longi has been able to achieve that, because yes, when people are demanding your product, it's been supplied at different locations with all different types of terrain and atmosphere conditions, and still it's been able to outperform everywhere. This is the reason behind that, the quality what we believe in basically. So as you can see, there are a lot of standard labs who have tested our products. One is All Quality Matters of the TUV relay, whether it's All Quality Matters or IETC or even PVEL. All these labs are having their they conduct more than almost 85 tests over a single module, and then they give the rating to the modules. And during these tests generally we hear that the modules are looking same in the look, then why there is a difference of the pricing or in the performance? The reason is this particular thing, that even if the module is looking same like each other, the practices they use while it's manufacturing, the BOM which is used inside it, it does a lot of matter. The selection of BOM is also a very important criteria. And when we are talking about Longi, we use the world's best possible product to manufacture our modules. And every lab is having the testing criteria of at least 5 to 6 times stringent than that of the IC. And many products are able to pass maybe 2, 3, 4, or even 10 tests. But Longi is something that has been able to pass all the tests of all these labs. and able to claim that number one position over there. And apart from these three lab tests, if you can see on the right side, there is one chart you can see, that's the energy yield test, which is done by the PV Magazine. It's not only inside the lab, but on the ground also. Longi is outperforming and giving the best possible outcome. These are some technical parameters which I want to touch upon. If you can see, we are using one technology that is called smart soldering. On that circle, if you see, the soldering is flat and then it becomes triangular. So basically this triangular part is for whenever the sunlight falls onto it, the maximum absorption of the sunlight should happen and it will should go to the cells. That's the reason it is triangular over there. And because of the flattening of this particular zone, the stress between the two cells has been reduced by more than 20%, and which reduces the possibility of getting the micro cracks in the near future. So that's been a best part of the longest soldering technology. Now I'll go forward to the bankability, because when we talk about the big projects who are in the range of maybe 100, 200, even gigawatt scale of the ranging products, so they want to understand that when they are going to put some amount into that product or that company should be bankable that much, that they should be there for next 25 years. And yes, when we talk about Longi, all financials of Longi are steady and strong. We have a steady growth since last 21 years. And if you see whether it's the Bloomberg NEF report, that is the Altman Z score, Longi is outstanding, having its outstanding performance in that too. We are standing at 4.99 of Altman Z score, and many others are even below 2. And as per the Bloomberg, it's a chance that if it is below 2, the company might get insolvent. So you have to be very careful about the bankable strengths and the bankability of any model you're working with. So on that, there are 100 marks for Longi. Apart from that, if you can see, there is a one part, there is a list of almost more than 50 model manufacturer in this entire pyramid, and Longi has been a only single module to attain that AAA rating. And it's since very last almost like 7 to 8 quarters, Longi is on been that position and staying strong over there. Now all is bankable thing and the technology and everything, all those sum up with this particular thing, that is the product we are offering to you. So one is Hymo 4. We are having our Hymo 4 that is ranging from 425 to 455 watt peak, and currently the supplies are in between 455 and 450 watt peak. And majority of these two are being installed on the CNI segment where your commercial and industrial things are happening. And other than that, we have introduced our Hymo 5 series. The Hymo 5 is basically ranging from 535 watt peak till 550 watt peak, and our currently higher offering is around 550 545 watt peak in the Hymo 5. And these products come into monofacial and bifacial as well. Other than these technology, as I said, we introduced PERC in 2016, but yes, we have been spending a lot on the R&D. And what's next was the question from everyone, because breaking that theoretical efficiency of 24% with the top convo is not going to be possible in the next era. So we have come up with something new. Till the time Longi was only into the P-type modules. This is the first time we are coming with the N-type module, and this is the world record figures of Longi's N-type cells, and that is coming up with the TOPCon technology. Longi introduced its N-type in the June 2021 in the SNEC, as you can see. And actually, I'm sorry, this actually figures are little bit older. Yesterday itself, we introduced on our LinkedIn page that the HJT solar efficiency of Longi has now surpassed 26.03%, which is a kind of a world record in itself. This is the construction of our new upcoming product, and I think it will be readily available for you all to install in your projects maybe by mid of next year, June or July onwards. And to summarize the things, because these are the backbone why you should choose Longi as your product. But other than only supplying the renewable products, we are trying to adopt this responsibility in ourselves as well. We have been a part of the RE EV in EP100, where Fortune 500 companies, majority of them have taken their initiative. We hear every day that now this particular company is going 100% renewable. The same time, we are supplying them for getting renewable. At the same time, we are considering it's our responsibility to become 100% sustainable and work with the renewable product. So by 2030, we have planned to go 100% renewable, uh, with the solar, wind, and whatever projects available in the market. And other than that, as you can see, our vision is very, very bright vision. By 2050, we are targeting that the Earth should go carbon neutral, and we are dedicated to do that along with the Longi, with all your support. And this page is basically summary that whatever I have discussed in last maybe 5 7 minutes, if you can see these points, basically I'll summarize these points that why you should choose Longi as your partner of the module. The first and the foremost thing is we are the largest producer globally with the capacity of 50 plus gigawatt. The second thing is we are having in-house quality optimized ingot, wafer, cell, and module manufacturing. Because earlier era, we generally listened that everyone is saying that we are completely vertically integrated. But in terms of the mono, there are very few players, or not even other than Longi any player who can claim that, because other than only silicon, all the processes are being taken care under the one roof from Longi. That's been a most advantageous thing of the Longi. Third part is the advanced technology focus to provide the highest value to our customer. We basically not only just supplying the modules, but all the technical support and the backbone is being provided by Longi. We are the highest achiever and the top performer for the PVEL. Other than that, as I said earlier, that it's not only the lab where we are performing, our product is performing. We are also the highest yield provider by the all quality matters when it was done on the field as well. The only company which is having the AAA rated, who is a pure module manufacturing company. Other than that, Longi is 100% bankable and having the outstanding Altman Z score. Apart from that, as you know, as I earlier said, we are a trendsetter of M6 wafer, which is basically used into the CNI segment. And now M10 is the next goal, which is slightly getting approved in the market. And definitely, majority of the Indian market is moving forward with our M10 wafer because it is a lot of technical advantages. Comprehensive offering of HIMO 4 and 5 for different projects, and also the bifacial options. And along with that, as I said, we have come up with our N type Topcon product, which is the future. Definitely, it's a future, along with the world record efficiencies. So these are the top 10 reasons why you can choose Longi for your next projects. Thank you. This was me. If anything is there, I'm there in the panel discussion as well, and I can give you the detail upon how our product works. And in fact, other than that, also anything which is related to solar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful presentation. Now we will be having sponsor video by Longi. I request my team to play it.
Into the first current to dream, the nature and technology had a perfect integration. Meanwhile, a new epoch of energy transition is ushered by utilizing the solar technology at the best. The solutions of green power plus green hydrogen is able to produce endless benefits to mankind. Longi links itself with the world symbiotically with its sustainable solar technology to focus on PV products, PV system solutions, and hydrogen equipment solutions, in process of pursuing the brand development concept of stable, reliable, and technology leading. Longi has developed 5 business sections covering monocrystalline silicon wafer, cell and module, industrial and commerce PV solutions, terrestrial PV solutions, and hydrogen equipment. And it has evolved into the first solar enterprise in the world and committed to become the most valuable solar technology company in the world to support global zero carbon development and shape the energy mix worldwide. Monocrystalline silicon wafers. Longi focuses on R&D, production and sale of monocrystalline silicon ingots and wafers. It was the first company fully adopted diamond wire slicing technology. In 2021, the annual production capacity is estimated to exceed 105 gigawatts. LONGi has become a global leader for mono-wafer productions. Solar cell and module. Conversion efficiency of PERC cells produced by LONGi had refreshed the world records for multiple times, among which efficiency of N-type TOPCon cell had achieved a new high of 25.21%. Solar module supplied by LONGi had won trust of customers across the world with its reliability, high efficiency, integrated and appealing features. The module shipment had ranked LONGi at the first place in the world. Distributed PV System Solution. Distributed PV system market is with huge potentials. LONGi has set up branches in many countries and regions to provide all-around services to customers through BIPV, solar equipment, project design, construction and grid connections with higher standards. PV Power Station Solution. PV power stations integrate with agriculture, fishery, sand control, husbandry and stock raising industries, and its main business focuses on investment, construction and operation of the comprehensive ecological industrial projects, dedicated to providing efficient and smart PV application system solutions. Hydrogen Equipment Solutions. Under global consensus of carbon neutrality, LONGi Hydrogen Energy has dedicated on hydrogen equipment research and manufacturing to develop an ecological chain of innovation with hydrogen technology and provide complete solutions for green power plus green hydrogen to accelerate energy transitions. Mission of LONGi is to create value for customers. With its sound health and international visions, the company had been granted with over 1,000 crucial patents by relying on its first-class research and development platform. Its cutting-edge technology enabled the leadership of LONGi in solar industry to advance green energy-based technologies, to build a green and zero-carbon world, to share a prospect future with you.
Decades, we experienced the rise of Chinese photovoltaic companies and the transformation of LONGi from a pathfinder and an inventor of technology to an industry leader. LONGi was established in 2000 and changed the game rules of the industry by promoting monocrystalline modules in 2015. In 2016, LONGi's mono-PERC technology brought the industry into an era of high efficiency and low LID. In 2017, LONGi's bifacial PERC technology increases remarkable module power output with rare side irradiation. In 2019, M6 silicon wafers led the PV industry to an era of 450 watt ultra-high power. With strong innovations, LONGi has made numerous achievements like 24.06% efficiency of monocrystalline PERC cell, the highest production of bifacial monocrystalline modules in the world, continuous technology advances and LCOE optimization. Now, LONGi is about to set off another advancement in the industry once again. The latest LONGi High Mo5 modules with optimized LCOE, especially designed for large-scale PV stations, are now available. The power output of High Mo5 is up to 540 watts, with over 21% efficiency. The optimal size of the High Mo5 module, coupled with sophisticated construction, can reduce costs while increasing power generation. As seen in the PV station in Zhoushuan, China, High Mo5 can significantly lower labor, land, and BOS costs and reduce LCOE. Also, the application of High Mo5 in Qatar has proved to be a remarkable improvement in cost reduction. The advanced technology of the High Mo5 leads to optimal LCOE, which is the result of LONGi's exploration of every detail of functionality. New M10 gallium-doped silicon wafer can reduce the linear power degradation to 0.45% per year. Compared with the traditional welding technology, Longi's smart soldering technology reduces the tensile strength of the cell by 20% by reducing the distance between cells by 2/3. This technology achieved a 0.3% improvement in module efficiency. HiMo 5 follows a mature and reliable design path, framed, tempered glass on both sides to ensure the load capacity of the modules, with no crossbeam on the back to the module that blocks reflected light to ensure continuous and efficient power output. In practical applications, the size of HiMo 5 is suitable for the main 1-portrait and 2-portrait horizontal single-axis tracking system. At the same time, it is perfectly compatible with the next generation inverters. The working current, including 15% bifacial gain, is kept within 15 amps, without the loss of current generation. Standardization, perfect adaptation, cost optimization, and high efficiency leads to optimized LCOE that enables HiMo 5 to be one of the most valuable products on the market. The high volume production of HiMo 5 is ready. By first quarter of 2021, global supply is expected to reach 13.5 gigawatts. The new HiMo 5 joins the Longi HiMo family, bringing in a new PV era with ultra-high value.
Thank you so much, team, for playing the sponsor videos. Before jumping on the panel discussion, I would just like to see how many people are along with me and who are as excited as me. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up. So we are good to go now. So now it's time to begin with our much awaited panel discussion, which is on solar roofs, North India. And to discuss this, we have in the panel with us Dr. Abdul Qayyum from CREST, Mr. Prateek Agarwal from Solar 91 Clean Tech Private Limited, and he's also the session chair for the day. Ms. Ritu Lal from Amplus Solar, Mr. Shah Masood Zafar from Tata Power, and Mr. Rohan Shelar from Longi. Now I welcome all the panelists on the screen and requesting Prateek sir to lead the discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Priyanshi, for inviting all of us for this panel discussion by Solar Roofs North India. And it's really great opportunity for all of us to present our views and to discuss what are the current scenario going on in the market. So just to give a brief that we had last year after the COVID, we had a really wonderful year which paved up the installation of the solar projects across India. Instead of the COVID, people were able to get their targets, were able to achieve the target. Then again, COVID hit, and still we are performing well. So this is a kudos to the solar industry, first of all, that we are still maintaining our hopes high, and we are doing job, and we are delivering back to the customers and achieving the goals. So as per the data says, the India has completed last year 2450 megawatts in terms of the rooftop solar project, and we are targeting for more than 3 gigawatt this year. And we are doing tremendously good in terms of the OPEX and CAPEX model both. Like in OPEX, we have done 800 megawatt last year, and we are projected plan of this year is 1100 megawatt. While simultaneously for the CAPEX, we have done almost 1600, 1700 megawatt, and targeting to grow up to the 2200 megawatt this year. So this is a really good number for the Indian rooftop industry, because we have seen the time when from 2016 to till now, when people were not actually preferring for the solar rooftop, and now they are not thinking about the depreciation and all. They are just getting it done because ROI has increased, obviously, thanks to the module manufacturer that reduced the cost significantly low, thanks to the Rohan. And now I really appreciate Rohan and the team Longi also, that they are coming up with the new HGT, which is having the efficiency more than 26%. That's a new achievement. And I think what I have observed, that after 2019 after lockdown, the innovation in the technology is being more faster than what was earlier. Like we were actually using the module of the 325 poly for 4 years actually, but now the era of the monopod is going on in the market, and we are changing it in every 6 months actually, and it's getting very difficult for all of us to convey the customer that right now we are using 400, then 445, then 500, now 545, and then again coming up to the new module. So it's really interesting thing going on in the market. There are certain issues. As per the key discussion points, there are certain issues in Indian solar roof outlook policies and all. So I'd like to discuss on that point first. And we have seen that in December 2020, the government of India has released the gazette to uh, to cap the net metering capacity up to 10 kilowatt. That was very disheartening step by the government of India for all of us. And I think all India stand together for it, and we all were able to raise our voice, and the message was very loud and clear that, and they agreed for that. But still, it's 500 kilowatt. It's okay for all of us, but still we are having some, like, what we could have achieved by not doing that. We are not able to do that. The problem is some states are still not open up for the net metering. Like I think we can see that the UP is having the major problem there, which is having the good market place for the commercial and industrial rooftop solar projects also, and they are not having the rooftop. So that's a setback for the complete industry. Uh, Apart from this, there are some states like we talk about the Rajasthan. We cannot forget about the Rajasthan when we are talking about the solar. So in Rajasthan, now after the new policies, I think there is some issue in projects when we are going for the OPEC model. There are some additional surcharge. There are some cross subsidies livable on the OPEC model rooftop project. I think Ma'am Neetu Lal will be more able to explain this thing. There is some issue of the demand supply gap also. What we have seen in the last 1 year, like when the demand was getting high, everyone got this issue that modules were not available, inverters were not available. So these are the issues which are also getting into the market, and the recent change of GST from 5% to 12% led to the market into something like residential market is getting lower because of this. Because that's a cost for the residential consumer, not for the industrial consumer. That's a cost for the residential consumer. Simultaneously, it's a cost for the OPEX players also, or developers also. It's a big cost which has been levied now, and duty is also proposed. So after April 2022, duty will also be there. So I mean, like uh, we can say that there are some issues. Future is always bright, but right now we can see that there will be some issues after 1st April 2022 for all the developer, EPC player, and everyone. So these are some issues which we can discuss today. Now I would like to invite Ms. Ritu Lal to spread some light over the issues, and like what is the scenario of the funding on the North India's rooftop solar dream, and what are the options available for this. Thank you, ma'am, for the
Thank you, Pratik, for that excellent introduction. Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, as you have highlighted, Pratik, there are a lot of, seemingly unrelated events and coming from multiple directions, and all of which are converging on this whole area of rooftop solar, right? So, there is a huge amount of, and some of these are positive, and some of these are actually challenges, right? So the huge amount of development that is happening, and the speed, you rightly mentioned, the speed of development in module technology is really fast now. We had about a 5-year period where the default was 330 watt peak polysilicon modules, and from companies like LONGi, right? And then suddenly from there we went into mono PERC, right? And then there was, okay, if you're doing this particular rooftop, instead of monoperk, you can also have bifacial. And then, different technologies. So I am a non-technical person. So then I started to hear about half-cut cells, more N-type, less P-type, larger wafer sizes, so on and so forth. And today we have, 450 watt peak modules. We're talking about 500 plus watt peak modules. I think Rohan talked about a 600 plus watt peak module, right? So there is so much of advancement happening over here, and in particular for the rooftop industry, where it's not a choice, right? It's not about how much land I have available. My space constraint, my space is limited. So if I can get more efficiency out of there, it is tremendous news, right? So that is one huge opportunity, and I'm sure correspondingly how even inverter technology has kept pace. And more than keeping pace, it's also the reimagining of the use of inverters, right? Where you have a utility scale solar using string inverters. Again, something that we had not thought about 6-7 years ago, right? String inverters, small plants, distributed solar, and utility had central inverters, right? And by using string inverters in the utility space, they've really been able to achieve, I think, economies of scale, if not anything else. So there's technological innovations. There is also a different way of doing business. When I say doing business technologically, which is giving us a lot of opportunity in terms of developing solar projects. On the other side, one is, of course, there are regulatory challenges. Yeah, that 10 kilowatt cap that was, I don't even know why it was announced, because that is not something within the purview of the Ministry of Power. The solar plant sizes, the capping, or what policies are going to be there, that is all a state level issue, right? But when they put out that 5 and 10 kilowatt cap, what happened is we saw many states cherry pick. They went back and said, okay, now we are recommending 500. I remember a lot of us from the industry also reacted and said, what is the point of doing that? But, obviously, if you're allowed to cherry pick as a state, you will only pick one part of it. I don't see any state, I don't see Rajasthan looking at, what the MOP's original document also talked about, who qualifies as a prosumer, and a behind the meter plant, has nothing to do with being charged, for any grid usage or something. So that aspect nobody looked at. So, out of the 10 things that MOP document, the Ministry of Power document talked about, people cherry picked whatever was convenient to them, right? We are still going to face a lot of resistance, in plant size, net metering options, grid use charges, banking charges. Per se, I don't think there is a problem in paying grid balancing charges. There is no problem in paying banking charges. But these charges need to be reasonable and fair. These charges should not become, in the garb of charges, you should not create barriers for rooftop solar, because rooftop solar happens to be inconvenient for distribution companies. And that is a problem. The issues with distribution companies are not to do with rooftop solar. They're legacy issues. Issues with subsidy, poor infrastructure, poor collections, losses, thefts, so on and so forth, right? Just by clamping down on rooftop solar, it's not like if just rooftop solar was the source of the problem, I think a lot of us sitting here would turn around and say, okay, we are going to do some other business, right? But it's not like tomorrow you switch off rooftop solar entirely in this country and discoms will start to become healthy. So this is something, again, that people need to realize. The other thing that boggles my mind is this whole obsession with captive and its definition, right? The solar plant does not change how it works depending on how much equity is owned by Ritu or Pratik or the rooftop owner, right? If anything, if I own a plant and I sell only the energy, then because my revenue is dependent on what I generate, I keep that plant performing optimally, right? So I don't understand, other than it becoming another barrier, and other than it forcing companies like ours to have multiple SPVs. Now, people who are not in this sector, they don't even understand when they talk about, okay, you have more than 40 SPVs in your company. What business are you doing exactly? This all sounds very shady. And then you explain to them that no, this is simply because, because of the captive structuring and the equity that gets involved, we have to create SPV after SPV. It just complicates matters. Why can it not be a simple, consumer supplier equation that is there in the rest of the industries? So again, this is something which is, I understand where it came about as a right of an electricity consumer to be able to generate their own electricity by investing. But I think that has gone, past its best by date. And I think that again needs to be rethought. Okay. Unless and until we iron out these core issues, the DISCOM conundrum, right? That rooftop solar harms the revenue of DISCOMs. Until we sort that issue, we're going to have all sorts of barriers, some by high charges, some by restrictive policies, caps which don't make sense, and we're going to strangulate rooftop solar. We are nowhere near our potential. The country has a potential of over 120. We took a target of 40. Where are we today? We are still in single digits. And this is despite the rooftop sector growing tremendously in the last year, both CAPEX and OPEX. If anything, the OPEX market opened up, because after the pandemic, a lot of these large companies which were sitting on cash reserves suddenly realized that everybody's business was hit, that people did not want to invest their own money. They wanted to go the OPEX way. People who were earlier punting, saying, no, if we delay a PPA by 5 months, 6 months, or 1 year, the prices are going on crashing and I will get a better deal in this process. Suddenly that stopped, because they said, okay, any saving that we can get, every 1% saving that I can get in my operating costs, I want to implement that now. So all of those clients who were keeping us hanging for months and months and months, those deals started to close. And I think all of us, our rooftop business did spectacularly well in the last 12 months, right? Each one of us has done a record amount of rooftop solar deals. The other thing the pandemic brought about was that rebuilding has to be greener. Again, rooftop solar fits in beautifully. Unlike the utility segment, we don't have ecological issues, right? We are not going to be harming any critically endangered animal. We are not going to require pipelines of water in the desert, where households don't have piped water, but the solar plant in the desert is getting a water pipeline, or tankers of diesel-laden trucks are carrying water. Diesel-powered trucks are carrying water to clean modules. So because we build in already built-up areas. So the use case scenario and the advantages of rooftop solar are very well defined. But there's so many impediments. And the biggest impediment, and I think a lot of these factors that I've talked about, and that's the reason I brought them about, they have an impact on finance. Banks pretty much don't finance solar, right? There's only one bank in India that has financed it, the State Bank of India, and that was the World Bank line of credit, right? The ADB line continues to be unutilized. It is now one of those things, right? There is that ADB line. It's been over, 3-4 years now? Zero utilization, right?
I think they have discontinued it.
I think it's now moved from PNB to another agency, but Lord knows what is going to come of it, because now suddenly we have a conundrum, another one, where because these are international multilateral agencies, they will not fund anything which is DCR. Now here, forget DCR, we have moved beyond DCR to ALMM, right? And again, there is an issue where anything which is government aided, and that term has not been defined. Everything in the country is government aided, right? So, and I know we heard of it where we said if you're using net metering, you're using the government transmission distribution line, it becomes a government supported project. But by that definition, everything is a government supported project, because the modules, they drive on, they carried in containers which are driven on roads, and the roads are provided by the government. So there is zero activity, the air we breathe is also being cleaned by the government. So those kind of issues have started coming in. So banks are not interested. There are complexities. Besides, I think they're still not willing to look at, a rooftop solar portfolio-based funding. They will do, each asset they will go and inspect. And now there you have 15 assets across 8 states, 15 inspections in anything from 150 kilowatt to like 2-3 megawatt size projects. There's so many tests, checks, third-party audits, and everything that gets involved. That itself becomes a very long and tedious project exercise by the time you get disbursement. So I think what most of us do, I don't think we wait for that funding to come in, because our clients are not going to wait. So we do, the bridge financing. We start working, and as and when the approvals come through, they get refinanced, right? Now, organizations like Amplus and some large companies may find it easy to work this way, but this is not very conducive for smaller companies. And in the rooftop sector, you have companies of all sizes. So again, this is something that they need to improve, because right now, then, because banks are not there, all of us who have debt, it's probably from NBFCs. And because it's from NBFCs, it's more expensive capital. There is any case a mismatch between the project life cycle and the debt tenor. So if you have debt for 8, 10, 12 years, but this project is about 25 years, I wonder if there is a way to, kind of bridge that gap as well. And lastly, there are these other issues that we need to educate within the country from the financing perspective. And companies, even solar companies, developers in the rooftop space need to understand what kind of a PPA will it take for you to get funding. Because, when we have PPA negotiations in our, we are so desperate to get that business that we drop what we find are very contentious clauses in the PPA, right? On deemed generation, change in law protections and stuff like that. And when that PPA becomes weakened, so it's not just, it impacts the finance options available to you, because it's not just the quality of the construction that you've done and the O&M that you're doing and the plant performance, but the kind of power purchase agreement that you've signed and the quality of your client. All of these things come in when you get debt financing from anywhere. And I'll close with this last point, saying this entire MSME and residential segment, again, is really struggling to get debt, whether directly or via EPCs and developers. We're talking about it. I know the World Bank has been talking about it. Several other institutions are talking about, that some kind of a credit warranty, credit enhancement, credit risk management process, which will reduce the vulnerability of the financiers. So I think that is really needed, because whether regulators, government like it or not, as we go towards net zero, you're not going to be able to stop individual household owners or individual business owners, small or large, from wanting to go the rooftop way. So that's really it from me. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your insightful knowledge. It's really great to know that. And you have raised a valid point that what sort of the thing government is have to do with the me investing or somebody else is investing. Actually, any rooftop project, if you can say that is completely funded by the banks, like 75-80% is funded by banks. So as per the definition, then all projects will be into the third party category only. So it's completely lame thing which is going on in the market right now. We will definitely fight for that thing also, and hopefully we will get the judgment in our favor. Now I would request Mr. Dr. Abdul Qayyum, Director cum ACEO CREST, to give us insight about what are the installations in 2021, which states are leading the race in North India, and what have been the key growth drivers for this. So I request Dr. Abdul Qayyum to speak.
Hello everyone. Hi Prateek, I guess I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, right. So this is the limitation with the technology thing. We always believe to have a offline session where there are no technical glitch as such. But very often, I have encountered similar problems problems in past that maybe after 5 minutes I came to know that, oh my God, I was not audible. So, all right. So your topic is really interesting, growth driver, as I can see. So I must take credit that maybe the first driver is the government institutions itself. So maybe a government policy, I'll say. For example, in Chandigarh, if I can talk its example. So in Chandigarh, it has been made mandatory that every house having area of 500 square yard, the solar installation is compulsory. So because in a country like ours, sometime you need to have certain penal provisions also. If you wish to implement a policy, there has to be some barrier, some driving force, not only the awareness or the education thing. Apart from that, I'll again say that some credit goes to the government again, because the government has initiated lot of subsidies. So, I mean, if you can recall, maybe 2 years ago, the subsidy was around 30% flat, but now it is revised to 40% and for the project up to size of 3 kilowatt and things like that. So what I'm saying is that the government is constantly pushing very hard, not through only legislation, but also through giving financial incentives. So that comes in form of subsidy. In fact, last year, there were a lot of modifications were also done regarding the disbursal of subsidy. Now it is directly given to the vendors or the contractor's account, not to the individual beneficiary. So I guess these are certain factors. Apart from that, I feel solar sector itself is growing market. And the reason is that because solar projects are deflationary in nature. If you just analyze the cost, let's say in last 10 years, it is constantly going down. So again, I'd like to quote example of Chandigarh. I remember in year 2015, the cost of panels of, let's say, size of it was around 120 rupees per watt. From 120 rupees, we have come down to 40 rupees now. So obviously that's another reason where people are getting very, prices are going down. So that obviously, encourages the local public to come forward. And if you look at the solar projects, so if I can ask you, what are the major obstacle? So the major obstacle is basically the upfront cost. So in order to have a solar power project at my house, I need to make investment of around 2 to 3 lakh in one go. And this is the major reason that people are not coming up. So in those scenario, when there is a huge subsidy like 40% or something like that, obviously it encourages a lot to the general public. So that's also one thing. Apart from that, I feel the government agencies are doing continuous awareness on it, maybe raising their confidence level that solar is really a viable option. It is not only financially viable, but it helps environmentally also. So here in Crest, we very often we claim that let financial benefit go to the public, but we are here to take the environmental benefit. So, and I feel I can very easy. I can say that people of Chandigarh are very smart. We call them climate smart. They know that it is my responsibility to move towards a cleaner form of energy. So if you are having clean energy, obviously we are going to help this planet in longer way. We cannot talk about sustainable development unless we have cleaner source of energy. So a lot of activities we do with various stakeholders, especially the societies, the market agencies, and the resident welfare association. We take them on board, we encourage them, we educate them what is solar, how it function, how government can help, what sort of project we are actually promoting, and similar things. So I feel that awareness is also one important factor which is helping in growth of this solar sector. So, and we have also done a lot of we have made similar films which are often used on certain days, especially on energy day or some government functions. If there are certain celebration, we play these video, we interact with the public, we take their query. And if you allow me, I would like to share one very interesting episode. I was interacting with some set of people, and somebody asked me all of a sudden that, sir, do you think, I've heard that so people who are having solar on their rooftop, it can cause cancer to the family members. Is it like that? So obviously you're dealing with such kind of crowd. People are surrounded by such a idiotic thing that then I said that no, it is not like that. I'm having solar on my rooftop and I'm not having any such symptom. So please don't worry. Solar is really beneficial. You should not fall trap of such thing. Lot of, maybe you can call WhatsApp university or something like that. But a lot of misconceptions are there among the public. And if you meet them, we clarify their doubts. And even some people have even asked that, can this solar is having strength enough to power my AC, or can it be used for maybe giving energy to a water pump or something like that? So people are having very basic questions when you interact them on ground. So if we are able to address them, we are able to make them confident, are able to reach their confidence level. I'm sure they will come. They will come forward, and this is how we can probably think of solarization is constantly growing. In fact, in Chandigarh, if I can share, we started our journey in probably around 2015-16, and though solar Chandigarh is a very small city, but we are able to tap. We are able to have solar plants to the size of around 45 megawatt at present, and government of India has given target of 69 megawatt. We hope that very soon we are going to meet the government of India target. And it's also good that because of the constant push from the government of India, lot of solar projects have come up, and you are pretty aware that solar targets were also revised, and now starting from journey from megawatt, now we are talking in terms of gigawatts. So I'm sure, and of course there are a lot of support or the initiative from the institutions like maybe this agency or the Solar Corporation of India and similar agencies. A lot of work they have also put in. Policies are very much placed, and it is now a lot of hurdles were there in early days, but now these things are taken care of. I'm pretty sure in times to come, solar has a much brighter future, and it will rise like anything. This is probably the only clean energy sector I can say where which is constantly rising, unlike maybe the hydro sector or the wind sector. So I think solar has the huge potential, and I must congratulate the organizer of this event. That because of this, I'm sure the message will reach to a larger audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kayum, for spreading the knowledge, and it's a very insightful session which you have given. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Shah Masood Zafar uh, for his insightful views on what are the where are the tariffs going on for the industrial commercial sector in terms of the solar capacities, as he is leading the Tata Power North. Uh, then he will be able to tell us that how the things will be going in the future also. So I'd like to invite Mr. Shah Masood.
So, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Pratik, and thank you, in fact, Rohan. Congratulations for your excellent presentation. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. It's very good, and thank you, Ritu ma'am and Dr. Kayum. I mean, they've enlightened us. See, we Tata Power Solar are in this business for last almost 30 years, and and I'm in this industry for more than a decade. So we have seen multiple changes and in terms of consumer preferences. The reason for buying the solar from the early days where the people were used to buy solar only as a backup option from the time, and then they started buying as a one of the entity which helps them reduce their power bill. So we have seen that journey, and I've seen there is a linkage in terms of solar uses vis-a-vis that tariff which has been available to the consumer. So historically, the industrial consumers or institutional customers, these are the people who are the early adopters of the solar technologies because they can see the huge saving in terms of money if they go for solar installation vis-a-vis their conventional discom powers. What one interesting aspect which has emerged since last 2 years, I mean, uh, if we can say post COVID, because of the people moving towards their work from home scenario, and multiple people opting to work out from the home, the residential sector also has grown very much. So we have seen the number of transactions which you normally do for our residential consumers. I mean, it has seen a triple number kind of growth. And the one more part is that see the usage of solar has grown to hinterland also. So earlier the demand was basically focusing only from the tier one or tier two cities only. Now the demand is started to come from the small towns also. There is a lot of adoption because of the pandemic thing, and because of the usage of the high energy consumption gadget at the households, the solar requirement has increased from all quarters, including the residential customers also. So tariff definitely has a link with the solar usage. Whosoever is using the high tariff is definitely is the first consumer for the solar. But I think beyond a tariff, people have also started yeah, I think beyond tariff also people have started understanding that historically the movement of tariff discom tariffs has gone up. So with the solar, they can at least, stop that level of increase. If they adopt solar as early as possible, it will be helping them. One more, I think though it's a challenge for us in the long time, in the immediate term, because of the price uncertainty and volatility in the market. Prices have gone up in last 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters, and the module prices have also gone up. But I think one good part is that the chain, the uh, thought of chain people have in the mind, that solar prices will only go down, that hasn't broken. Now people have realized solar prices can also go up. So vis-a-vis discount tariff, the solar prices if also sometime go up. So people have that, it helps people to faster their decisions. So it's not only that people will only, somebody was you're talking that people were expecting the price will further go down, then we'll take a decision. Now that myth or that thought has been broken. Now people have realized that solar prices can also go up. So earlier the we take a decision, better it is. Of course, there's a GST increase has an impact for the non-institutional customer, especially for the residential customers. But I still see that, this is a challenge. There's a policy challenge also in some states, like in Uttar Pradesh. There's no net metering for non-residential customers. So despite all the challenges, I think the adoption of solar, because of this price gap between the solar energy and the discom energy prices, is increasing. One particular aspect which I like to highlight, though it is not directly, you have not given me on this. See, the availability of the easy financing will definitely help us. So, be it a residential consumer, be it an industrial consumer, the banks or the lending institutions, we have tied up as a company, Tata Power Solar, with multiple institutions for promoting the solar through the financing. But that process is going on. But I think the more the merrier, the number of institutions who can look forward to, and I can request Dr. Kayyum, because he was talking about the government support. The more the push this can happen, where the institutions come forward to lend support for the financing of solar products, that will definitely make things easier. As you were rightly mentioning, that the initial cost of putting the solar is still comparatively a little higher, for at least for the non-industrial customer. They pause to take a decision unless and until they get some kind of support in terms of finance, because that will definitely help grow the market. So that is from my side. We would like to say one more thing, that we Tata Power Solar is present in all kind of segment for servicing the consumer, be it as residential or industrial or institutional customers. And more or less we find that in last 2 years, 3 years time, because of advanced technology, because of the more focus from the module vendors, inverters vendors also, adaptability and interest in solar is also increased a lot among the consumers who are opting for solar energy. uh, Thank you from my side. This is I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Shah, for your insightful approach on this, like how the segment will drive for this tariff and all. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Rohan to give his views on that. There are two topics that Rohan will be covering right now, like how India offers the least LCOE for rooftop solar. So, what is the role played by the evolving technologies in it? And secondly, the making the right choice, like selection criteria of the model. That's obviously Rohan, you are master in this. You can tell us and everyone that what's the selection criteria for the module. So, over to you, Rohan. Rohan, you are not audible. Rohan, you are not audible.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. So thank you, Pratik ji. I think the second one is always, like always, the most favorite question actually. Reason being that because I'm from the module industry, and I consider personally myself, as all the speakers said, that in rooftop segment we have to educate the people. And I think the education comes from the people like us who are into the industry from long, and we want people to understand what are the products and which product will help them to understand and get them the better outcome of their entire installations. So basically, I'll start with the first point what you said, that how the technology is helping us to reduce the LCOE, as the point touched upon by Rituji and you, that in last maybe 8-10 years we have seen that the modules, last 4-5 years, the module watt peak was in the range of maybe 320, 330. and it was there for almost like 4 5 years, and then drastically, maybe in last couple of years we have seen like that has been increased to 400, 450, and now, like I was just talking about in my presentation about the 550 watt peak module. And why it is happening, I think this demand is driven from the market side also. We are day in day out working and providing our R&D engineers about the inputs that what the clients are expecting from their projects, how, because we want to make solar a very very competitive energy where people should come upfront and ready to invest in solar. So the products, basically module, why it is important, because module is about around maybe 60 to 65% of your entire project cost, and reducing LCOE is the major thing what we all are obviously working upon. So with the help of the latest technology, if I talk about my particular product of HiMove 5 series, which is in the range of 520 or 530 watt peak, the first and foremost thing it does is it's reduced your labor cost. When you compare it with the lower watt peak modules, the handling of this particular module is equivalent to that of the smaller one, and the installation process becomes more easier, so it saves you the cost on your labor side. Second thing, it reduces your balance of system cost, because we all know like the solar modules are connected into the strings and all, so strings and arrays basically, and in that when your size is increasing, you are able to accommodate more and more module in a single string, which reduced your cost of the balance of system, maybe it your structure or maybe it your cables and the DB boxes and all that. So that's the point number two. Third thing, when we talk about the LCOE, I would say that the major part which I incurred or I have seen is a transport thing. Because see, the transit time, we all are using that. Transporting module is kind of a very difficult zone or difficult area, though it's maybe it's a road transport or maybe it's a sea transport when we are talking about the foreign manufacturer like us. So we have seen that the prices of vessel has been changing dynamically and drastically. And so maybe today we are having the price of maybe 40 HQ container, maybe 6,000, and maybe 2 3 days back or maybe 1 week later, it might reach as high as maybe 9,000. And this is how the things are changing. And in these times, we should be aware or we should be utilizing that particular container in an optimum manner, so that maximum output should be brought into our grounds or into our particular installation sites, because the transit cost nowadays is increasing even beyond 40 50 60 paisa or even 1 rupee, so which is a kind of excess cost which nobody wants to bear. So that is being reduced with the help of the better LCOE because of the new and high watt peak of the module which Longi is providing. Other than that, the application compatibility. When I mentioned that we are having two products, majorly when I'm talking about rooftop, there's a product called HIMO 4, and for the utility, we generally provide HIMO 5. Why so? Because handling in the roof, there is no choice to all of us for the installation. So we need to have some product which is easily can be carried to any sort of whether it's tin shade or it's a tilted roof or a tubular roof, anywhere we should be able to carry it in a easy and safe manner, so which can be done using our HIMO 4 basically. And the compatibility what I was talking about is, when I talk about the HIMO 5, we don't want to only increase the size of the module but the efficiency. So when our project is based on the 182 it is having the lowest current and it is becoming compatible with the existing infra or existing inverters available in the market. So you don't need to change your inverter setup for the new upcoming technology. That also reduce your LCOE basically. So these are the parameters which are helping all around to reduce your LCOE. And other than that, day in day out we are working on like your mechanical strength of the project, so the same strength, same structure is able to sustain the higher watt peak of the module, which definitely reduce the cost. So all these parameters cumulatively add up few parameters and few things which ultimately helps you reduce the cost. So that was a part one. And second, as I said, that is most favorite thing. So what should be the selection criteria? Because many a time I would say I have heard that, yeah, Rohan, tera module to same hi dikhta hai. What is the difference between these two modules when we keep side by side, when we do the apples to apple comparison? So visually, I think we cannot, even I cannot differentiate between my and different other manufacturer module or any sort of module basically. But I think during my presentation, I have shown you multiple slides in which we were talking about the quality, or which in which we were talking about the tests which are being conducted on the modules. So basically, for selection, there should be at least three criteria we all should follow as a layman. It's not like as in a salesperson of Longi, I'm talking like this, or any representative of Longi. But as a layman, when all you guys are listening to me, I'll tell the capacity from whom we are buying the module. We should know the background of the company, because whenever we discuss solar, even the laymen are knowing that it is for 25 years. But we should know working with which product will last that particular installation for next 25 years. So knowing the capacity and the company is the first thing. Second thing, the bankability of the company, because see, many a time we are going only with the L1 pricing and sort things of sort of like that. But it's not good to go with only L1, because we all know that project only will give you outcome if it performs for more than 10 to 15 years. If you're buying something which may give you the degradation, higher degradation than what is expected, then it's no point utilizing that particular product. And then, other than bankability, as I mentioned, the quality, bankability, these are major factors which we should be considering. And the quality, that how the product is being manufactured, what are the components which are being used inside it. Because unless you don't know if that particular product is going to stand for longer run, it's not not use for you. Because, and as we know, there is difference between the price and the cost. Because initially when we begin the discussion, it's the price what we discuss upon, that this is the per watt peak price, or this price is very high, or it's beyond our budget. But when that end user looks after the cost of 25 years of generation and uses, you will find that the quality of the product definitely matters over there. Because the entire lifespan, when we go ahead with the good quality of the product, they will they might take maybe 6 months more for giving you the ROI. But after getting that ROI, you will be definitely able to get the maximum generation from that particular product. So selection, when you select the product, first try and understand what the product is, what technology is best suited for your particular plant. Then the company, the model, basically I'll talk, because see, out of 100%, 60-70% is more than more or less is a module pricing. So you should know, when I'm choosing this particular module, yes, these guys are what they are doing in the broader market. Or generally what I understand is we should follow what higher utility or any other segment is following. Reason being, these guys are having, I think, the team of more than 80-100 technical people who are evaluating the things, who have been looking after each and everything optimum, how that particular product is going to give them the optimum output, and then it's being chosen. Then it's being chosen for their installation. So that can be a layman's criteria to choose your product. And other than that, the quality, when people speak about the pricing and everything, don't always follow the pricing, because I think that benchmark is the complete wrong understanding that something is L1. I cannot say that L1 is not always good, but as I mentioned, the price thing which we need to understand is what output I am expecting out of it. Is it my criteria getting the product at the lower price, or is it my criteria getting a good product at a reasonable price, which will last and serve my requirements for next lifespan of his entire operation. So this is it from my side, Pratik. I think I have been able to explain the point which was there in my mind. If anything is
Yes.
there, any questions, I'm ready to revert that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for sharing your views. I think we are open for the question and answers now. So if anyone from the audience is having any question and answer, you can we're ready to go. So, Priyanshi, you are on mute. Priyanshi, you are on.
Meanwhile, attendees, kindly note if you have any questions, you can post it in the Q&A box. We'll just wait for a minute.
So by the time the attendees are posting questions, you can do a little more discussion on same topics.
Well, discussions definitely can be done. I think Pratik ji and me are having a lot of topics to discuss about.
Yes.
So It's really great to have the session with Rohan always. Like, so I think we have done more than 3 4 sessions till now.
Absolutely.
So so I think we have started getting some questions. What are the technical system changes going to happen using N type module? Rohan, it's for you again.
So, what are the technical system changes going to happen using the end? See, the technical parameter changes is basically the layer which used to be the P type. It's not going to be anything outside of the module. The construction change will be inside the module. So you don't need to, like, as I said, the point I used when we were discussing, we are standardizing our M10 wafer 182 mm, and we are trying to work it upon with the compatibility of the existing thing. So it's only a new technology, because why we have to come up with the N type is because the current technology of the PERC is having a limitation, theoretical limitation, that the efficiency cannot be exceed more than 24%. So we have to see something innovative which can be utilized for the future, and there the N type of TOPCon comes into the picture. So there is nothing that any technical change you need to do it there, but with this advancement of the product you get the higher efficiency, and within the higher efficiency, within the same span of the length and the width, you're getting the higher watt peak module, which reduces your LCOE, the point we earlier discussed, which will reduce your LCOE as well. So no change is going to happen in your installation practice or in your design practice. Yes, there may be a slight change of maybe voltage and current, which has to be considered while designing, but nothing other than that.
So Rohan, that is a valid point. Like when you are coming up with the new products, and also there should be some like guideline for using this with the designing part also. Like what kind of the cable which we were using earlier should be changed. What kind of the like is there any arrangement of the fuse, or is there any arrangement of the connector to be given, and what changes in the inverters are required. So I think being a module manufacturer, it will be very easy for you to assess all these things, and it should be circulated with everyone, because what we are seeing currently, still some people are using like as per our observation, like 545 watt peak modules we are using right now, and we should not use the 4 mm cable, DC cable with that, but still some people are using, and that's because of the awareness in the market. So I think there should be some standard guidelines to be provided from your side. Not that much in terms of the EPC. Then what we will do actually, that's our job. But still, some little bit guideline to aware the EPC also.
See, I think Pratik ji, we generally as a Longi or as a product manufacturer, along with my order, my product, we provide our installation manual, in which is coming up with each and entire detail, what type of cable should be used. And but other than that, like I'm trying to come up or touch the base on this point is we are trying not to change your existing setup. Like I said, even though we shifted from 450 to 540, we are trying to bound our current range below 15 amps, so which is still compatible with your existing cables and the breakers and everything. There are few manufacturers who are doing it, and that is exceeding around 18 amps, where it is this problem is coming into the picture. But if you talk about Longi, we are trying to analyze the whole situation, how our product will get fit into the existing market requirements. This is how we are working into, because when I come up with something new and you have to buy different breaker, different sort of cables and everything, it disturbs your entire supply chain.
Yes.
So this is where we are trying to accommodate, take the feedback from people and the expert EPCs like you, and come up with the product which is suitable for the existing situation. And then only, sir, I think it will reduce LCOE. Otherwise, to get something new every time, new products to follow or use this
That
new
will
product
not
bias will
reduce.
be difficult.
Is there any, Mr. Dr. Kayu, I think you wanted to present something, or is there anything you want to share on this point? Dr. Kayu is there, no? I think he's having some
I
connectivity.
believe there is some technical issue from his side. We have one more
So,
question. Can I display it for you?
yeah. What is the cause for higher efficiency? So again, this is the requirement of the hour. So that's why people are going towards this, and R&D is going towards this. So due to the constraint of the area, but what's the cause for this? I think Rohan, you will be able to explain it better.
I think the cause is, see, why we shifted from, I think, the bigger mobiles to the flat and the small mobiles. It's always the increase the utility of the product, the accessibility. See, increasing the efficiency, when we are particularly talking about the rooftop segment, there are certain challenges what are happening around to not able to choose your particular how the roof will be and everything. So in those particular areas, when we are able to increase the efficiency, with that limited area you will be able to install more number of module or generate more number of basically energy from that same area. That's the reason. The causes of increasing efficiency is just to give you something better. It's a kind of a version of every time we upgrade the software 5.0, 6.0. This is how it is going from 15% efficiency. So now we have reached almost like the cell efficiency of HJT 26.03. It's a need of our sir. That is the cause basically.
I would like to correct you. It's not upgrading the software, it's upgrading the hardware. Actually, you are adding the cost also with that. So you are switching from model 13 to 14 actually. Anything else, Priyanki? Not audible. Not audible.
We have one more questions. I'll just put it on stage.
So this we just discussed right now that we have already discussed. This.
Yeah, correct.
Yes. Abdul sir has some technical issues, so he is not here with you. So we'll go and close this session.
Thank you, Priyanka.
So thank you very much to all our esteemed panelists for this wonderful session, and very special thanks to Prateek sir for superbly managing the session. As
Thank
always,
you.
you were impressively well prepared and extremely professional in the way, and you kept us all at the height of our attention for almost more than an hour. Plus, you're phenomenal in making the panelists all appear at their very best. Rohan sir, special thanks to you too for providing all the knowledge and answering all the questions so well. So, thank you everyone for extending your time and support. We promise to come back, and the floor is open for networking for an hour now. So, that's it for today. Thank you so much and take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik ji. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohanji.
Thank you, Zafar sir.
Thank you, yeah, Rohan. Thank
Yeah,
you.
bye.
Thank you, Mr. Pradeep.